Trackman, GCQuad, we got them. Let's test them, see what the difference is.
All right, well, we've got GCQuad by Foresights in the bay, which is weird having something sit right here.
Having something sitting right there.
And then obviously you have y'all's Trackman unit. So the idea here is that we wanted to put these two units because they are two of the most popular launch monitors on the market up against each other and see what the real differences are. So right out of the gates, before we talk about performance and their interfaces and all that stuff, there's two very different technologies working here.
Yes.
So let's start with what we know.
Okay.
The big orange box back there.
Yeah, orange box is, it's a Trackman 4, so it's their latest radar out. It's a dual Doppler radar and camera. So Trackman has a camera built into it.
Sure.
It's the little spot right there next to the green dot. They use that for grabbing some club stuff. They use it to help whenever you line it up.
Yeah, impact data. So they can see where the golf ball kind of is between the radar and the camera.
Yes, they uses
it all together.
Both.
Yep, and obviously being dual radar, that's why it sits behind the unit.
Correct.
It tracks the golf ball in line with as it's flying, and then collects parameters. Indoors, it'll collect parameters till it hits the net, which is for us is about 12 feet. Outdoors, it'll track it till it can't see it. Yeah, essentially, till it loses sight of line. So now GCQuad by Foresight. So Foresight's Golf, they've been around not as long as Trackman, I don't think, maybe about the same, not really sure. But it uses a photocell system. So essentially there's 4 teeny little cameras on there that capture club data. I forget how far, it's like 1.5 feet.
Yeah,
2 feet, something like that.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with it.
I'm probably a little bit more familiar with it just because I've used the GC2, which is their original model, and then you could expand it. What's the massive difference, obviously you can see the unit sitting over here to the side. It uses 4 cameras to capture club data and ball data as you swing through it, and then it uses calculations to figure everything else out. So it's using similar calculations to what Trackman does inside, just capturing the information very differently. One of the biggest blaring differences right out of the gates, besides the fact that those two things do that, is GCQuad will not give you a total yardage. So it's only going to give you a carry. Now Trackman gives you carry and total. That total, unless you're outdoors, is a presumptive total, so you have to kind of rely on, I think you guys said you have the fairway set at medium for the most part. Yeah,
it's what their standard stuff is. And I did see, again, I'm not super familiar with Quad, but I did see some stuff on some different apps that they have. Like they have different ones, I believe.
You talk about Foresight's?
Foresight's.
Yes.
And so one of them I saw total on there. Now I don't know if that was outside or inside.
Yeah, that might have been the biggest thing. So Trackman, when you open up the Trackman Performance Studio, you kind of have access to everything right there. It's all one big app. You do have to run it through a computer. I don't know if it matters if it's Mac versus PC.
Doesn't matter. You can run it through an iPad. They have Trackman Go app, runs the same stuff.
Well, I was going to say for the actual Performance Studio versus...
Oh, yes. So, well, Performance Studio, the range, yes, you run off both those for like your games and that kind of stuff.
Every large launch monitor, and I say that, and I'm going to go ahead and throw Flight Scope into that mix. The X3 is similar to Trackman. I don't personally care for it. I think the numbers you get are a little squirrely out of it comparatively to what you do at Trackman, which seems to be pretty consistent over and over. Not trying to diss Flight Scope, just is what it is. We also have one here. Flight Scope, if you'd like to send one to us, we'd be happy to put it up against Trackman.
Absolutely.
And see what they do. But I'm not going to go buy a $25,000 unit for the fun of it.
No.
And we are borrowing this Trackman from a buddy of ours that owns it. So
the Quad.
The Quad.
Yes.
Trackman Quad.
Yeah,
orange, silver. Got
Back,
it.
forward.
Trackman's over here, we have issues.
Yeah, ain't getting much.
So obviously with Trackman though, to run the full scope of things, you do have to have it connected to an actual computer, and a pretty powerful one at that, but that's true with any of these. And then you have, like what the screen we're looking at right now, you can get this information via the Trackman Go app, which is you can use on your phone or an iPad that I'm holding here. Now, because that's hooked up to the computer, GCQuad, we don't have another computer.
Nope.
So GCQuad has what's called FS Performance, which stands for Foresight's Performance. And then there is a secondary app, and this is also in conjunction with a computer, but you can run it mobily. I just believe the graphics dive quite a bit because obviously you can only do so much on iPad versus a nice fancy gaming computer. And that's called FSX. Right now, 2020 is the most modern, and that's where you're going to get more of some of your games, your more fun driving ranges, like the Trackman did virtual range versus the, I call it the information hub range, or teaching range. I just refer to it as a teaching range because it gives you the most information. And then you can play golf courses as well.
Correct.
So that's the massive, just blaring differences. Obviously, how they work is very different. So
where they sit, where they're at.
right. So interface wise, we're gonna have Aaron hit a few shots, and I'm gonna throw up. We're gonna talk about GCQuad first. Listen, if you've watched our channels for more longer than 5 seconds, you've seen what a Trackman can do. If not, reference back. We actually shot a whole Trackman Q&A video with Kyle.
With our rep.
Kyle Butler from Trackman, also a PGA member. So we'll insert that in the description below, as well as in a little time card or a little cardy thing, wherever it comes up. Somewhere above our heads.
Somewhere up there.
You still don't know how to do that, do you?
Nope, sure don't.
I'm going to teach him. So you guys have seen this a lot. So we're not going to go into too much depth on the studio over here because you've seen it a lot. But we are going to dive in just real briefly to the studio over here on the GCQuad. We are using the mobile version, so it is screen grabbing on the iPad. And then we're going to compare some numbers. So
let's see.
If you don't mind, swing away.
Got a 7-iron here.
No pressure, but one swing and we can talk would be nice.
Chunky.
That's all right. A little left. You want another one, or you want to go with it?
No, just go with it.
So there are some numbers that are differently because the radar tracks the ball differently than a photocell unit tracks the golf ball. So we tried to pair them up as closely as we possibly could for you guys, as far as the tiles we're looking at beneath Aaron's shot there versus the iPad. So
that one actually picked up club speed.
Did it? Yeah, sometimes. So, and that's a good start. That's actually a really good starting point.
Yeah.
So Trackman, you don't necessarily have to have dots. Now, if you have a higher speed player, especially indoors, they recommend using a dot on the golf ball.
On the golf ball.
And that's just to give the unit a little bit easier job catching the ball fly so it can register more accurate numbers. It's not required. It just cleans it up. So when you get guys in here, I know every once in a while I'll throw a dot on for me if I'm feeling it or if I'm working on speed training stuff or a lot of driver stuff, but I don't need it to get my information. It just might be slightly more accurate. From a yard to half a yard, to give you an idea. We're not talking about drastic differences, but there is no need to put anything on your golf club to track your club data, no need to put anything on your golf ball to track ball data unless you're going to go high speed, and if you go outdoors, you really don't need it.
Yeah, you really need nothing.
Yeah, outdoors you need absolutely anything. Indoors, shorter range, maybe a dot. And so, but not required. Foresights. So this is where they start to drastically change other than just how they operate.
Yeah.
So it picks up ball data, just ball data.
Ball data have at it.
Now, obviously, in a dual radar unit, you've got one of the radars tracking the golf ball, one of the radars tracking the club head, if I remember correctly, right?
I believe that's right. Don't quote me on that, Kyle.
Yep, if we're wrong, I'm sure someone will correct us. But essentially, you're looking at two different things simultaneously through the unit. Over here, you have 2 cameras watching the golf ball and 2 cameras that are designed to watch the club head. But here is the first major difference. In order to get any sort of club data, you have to insert dots on the club head so that the camera can pick it up and read it. It's designed with golf ball first, club second.
Yes.
And then you have to turn it on. Another downside to this unit is if you want that club data, you do have to buy a slightly more upgraded unit.
Yeah, you got to upgrade your subscription or license or whatever.
I believe the Foresight starts in around $11,000 base, but then you have a putting module, which is X amount of dollars. A club module, it gets up to the $20,000 range pretty fast. And then if you add a subscription to FSX, which is their
courses and all that stuff.
Yeah, all of a sudden you're pretty much where you are with Trackman. We're not saying Trackman's perfect. They have subscription services as well. And so there are obviously upgrades to both units. There just seems to be a little more wide range of them over here.
Yeah.
So looking at your club data here, and we're only going to talk in terms of this, they can't see this.
Yep. Terms of the ball.
As far as foresights, yep. So ball speed 114, launch angle 19.1, side angle. That's something we kind of figured out, 2.8 degrees left. Now the side angle or the side fall, I don't know what you want to call that, offline.
Yeah.
For Trackman measures it in feet. This measures it in yards, 22.2. Trackman had you 36.1 feet. Range, I don't know, still don't really know what range means, is 157. Peak in yards, 30.7. I'm guessing that means height. Side spin, which is something Trackman does not track. I don't believe. If we do, we don't know where it is.
We don't. Yeah, I'm not sure.
It might. We just can't find it. Is 1207 left, backspin 63.91, which you had a 58.60 on Trackman, and descent angle 47.2. 46.2, pretty close. So obviously you guys can see this screen now. You get a nice little visual image of the side shot as well as the overview. You see it. You get some club data. He did pick up some club data. Apparently we have this set on driver because it's set up for a driver. That's okay. It all means about the same thing. So on that one, he actually did get some club data. Do you have dots on that?
Nope.
Okay. So every once in a while, it might pick it up. Got a pretty dirty
sure.
face. Maybe there's some differential there.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes it does, right?
Accurate it's gonna be if it does pick it up.
Right.
Just being that it's not set up that way.
But you get, I mean, obviously you can get, if you have dots or lucky.
Yeah.
And if you have purchased that upgrade, you get path, side path, centers of contact. That one I've noticed you really haven't grabbed any, even with dots.
Yep.
Attack angle, those types of things, and spin access. And then where you guys are seeing here too, you get all your ball data, and then what club data it did get. Where those X's are essentially means it did not pick it up. So it really only picked up club speed, efficiency, which I'm guessing it's 1.15, so I'm guessing smash. And then angle of attack. Yeah, I don't know how it gets.
How they register that, because that was Trackman 1.50 is like dead center perfect. That was 100% not dead center.
That was not
perfect.
it.
That was not it. No.
Well, this is 115 or 1.15.
Oh, 1.15. That's probably is that.
Yeah, that's a little closer. So, so that's the basic overview of what we're looking at here. So from here on out, we will throw both screens up. So we're screen grabbing. Oops, sorry, everybody. We are screen grabbing everything. So we're going to kind of just talk about the differences in the two units from a hitting perspective. I'm going to set this down. So, I mean, other than the fact that they obviously work differently, I mean, obviously, and I'll say we're a little biased. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat that.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys went with Trackman for a reason.
Yeah. With them about coming up on 3 years. We've used them. We went with them off of ease of use, I guess. As far as like setting the two units down, I mean, the quad, you really just kind of set it there. It has a stick.
There's an alignment stick.
An alignment stick that comes with it. Yeah, it's like a, what's the word I'm looking for?
Sensors
it's like a reflective
you line it up, so
stick.
you set the unit down roughly where it tells you to. You put your alignment stick down where you're going to be hitting from.
And then it picks up where the alignment stick is.
And it aligns the unit automatically. Whereas Trackman, when you fire it up, you always get a screen that essentially you're looking at the camera.
And you can select a target out there.
Yep, you actually land it right on your target, and then you're good to go. And if you're indoors, it'll ask you to select a distance to net, essentially, or distance to mat, whatever you want to call that screen thing.
So, I mean,
pretty comparable. I mean, there's always going to be a little setup work when you're dealing with these things because it needs
has
to
line up to say.
Yeah, they all have to line up. I will say that whenever we heard there was an alignment stick, I thought it'd be one of those like when you go to the Foresights Mevo little like $600 jobs, you have to like line it up just perfect, and all you get is this little like plastic, looks like a pistol sight.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
But the thing's the size of a big credit card.
Yeah, I've seen those. They're like this big.
Yeah, that's how you line them up. There is no other way. And so all the Foresights, damn it, there's too many of these things. All of the flight scope units up until you get into the Trackman-esque range, which is their, I think it's the X3. I'm guessing a little bit. The same thing Bryson DeChambeau is paid to use.
Yes.
Then they start having cameras on, and you line up a little bit more like how Trackman does. But the rest of them, you just have to essentially take an alignment rod, square it up, and just tilt both units until you get it there.
Yeah,
Whereas you have a little more room for error.
There was one of the other ones, a lot cheaper unit is the SkyTrack.
Oh yeah.
And we had one of those at the high school that I coached at, and it would shine a little dot, or it would shine two dots on the ground, and then you'd have an alignment stick that you would set down there, and you'd have to keep moving it until the two dots both touch the alignment sticks. I mean, it was a big hassle.
Yeah, I mean, cheaper units. We're obviously dealing with two of the highest end units on the market. Yeah. We're a little spoiled golf professionals here.
Yeah, a little bit.
We don't exactly have Flight Scope Mevo and SkyTrack sitting right here. These are those times 1,000.
And yeah, this is what you've seen. You've seen one of these two things on the range at every PGA, LPGA, senior tour.
Almost every tour player uses some form of technology.
They're using something because, I mean, let's just be honest. I really do not care who you are or what you say to that, but your eye can't tell me as precise as that or a radar going of where that golf ball landed.
Yeah.
You just can't. You just can't. You just cannot do it.
Well, and I use that argument to the instruction side as well. There are other teaching professionals, and I'm not naming names or any of that stuff, but if a teaching pro ever says, oh, I can tell how fast your club head speed's going. Now listen, if you're a junior and the club's going like 40 miles an hour, yeah, sure. Yeah. Or like if you can tell face angle. Now, I can tell what your face did based on what the golf ball did, but I can't see that golf club.
No.
Aaron's club head speed was 114.1 miles an hour in less than a second.
Yeah.
I don't care how good these little things are.
Yeah. You got your Google lenses on, going to slow it down in the middle of it. I mean, you're talking, when you're talking face stuff. I mean, you're talking.
Stop saying face stuff. You did in the last video too.
Yeah. When you're talking about the club face and the angles.
Yeah.
I mean, a degree. I'm sorry, but you cannot tell me.
No, absolutely not. And that's the thing when you get to higher
what
speeds.
A degree or two is.
A degree is a much bigger deal to somebody swinging 120 versus somebody swinging 80.
Yeah.
Because a degree for me, when I was younger, and I would always come in a little bit close, anywhere from a half degree to a degree and a half, it'd move a couple yards. Well, as my club head speeds increased, we've maxed out. Now we're going the other direction, unfortunately. But when I was at my fastest, that same miss was an 8-yard miss all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Because when the club moves faster, everything's a little bit more drastic. That's why drivers are harder to hit than wedges.
The golf ball is going further. It's just like a putt. If you've got a 3-foot putt and you push it an inch,
you're fine.
You're okay. If you've got a 30-foot putt and you push it an inch off the start,
missed by 3 yards.
You just missed it by you were putting again.
Right. So it's, at the end of the video, I think we're going to tell you our preferences, and I don't know, they're different.
Yeah.
I don't know. We joke about that when we do the club reviews. It's like, I think we said that at the end of, maybe it was the PXG review, but we kind of said, like, I don't think we said anything bad about a club review. And it's not that there's anything bad about it. They operate very differently.
Yeah.
And I know there's not a lot of just amateurs out here that are going to watch this video, so I'm hoping we get across to some of the professionals out there that are looking to maybe take their teaching game to the next level. Because I know in searching for it, and you guys mentioned this as well, there's not a lot of information out there of head versus head.
No.
Of flight scope versus foresights versus Trackman, so on and so forth. So maybe at some point we will try and borrow a unit from Flight Scope and throw them up against one of these two. Again, y'all own the Trackmans. We do not own a Foresights.
No.
So you guys obviously made that decision.
Yeah, and so I mean, if we just want to jump into it.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you from my perspective is kind of two-sided, being that yes, I have the instruction side of it, but then I also have the commercial side of owning a business that has multiple units in it. Just starting with the quad, everything that we've seen seem to be pretty comparable. Like numbers wise, we're not seeing one that's wildly different. We've seen some dispersion differences when you go outside and set them both up and watch what the actual golf ball does, and then how numbers come back off of them. We've seen some things, and then the quad measuring things in yards kind of throws you a little bit. I kind of like the foot thing with Trackman.
Be more precise.
But again, just kind of being biased on that. But so from the instruction side, I like the setup of Trackman just from kind of the ease of use on being able to, if I'm working with somebody and really all we care about is face angle, we can turn everything off except for face angle. And that's all we see.
Well, and I'll throw another nugget out there real quick on the Trackman when teaching too is, and Quad might have this, I don't know. And if we're wrong, somebody from Foresights, please let us know, because we'd like to give the most accurate information first and foremost. But to the best of my knowledge is you can't add cameras to this unit and use it as a teaching studio. You can teach from it, but you're gonna have to use a secondary camera solution if you wanted to do that. Whereas in Flight Scope, damn it.
Trackman?
The orange one. In Trackman, everything's built in here. So if you've ever taken a Trackman lesson and I know if you've ever taken a Trackman lesson from me, or more than likely you as well, typically there's at least a camera angle, if not two.
Yes.
Up, and listen, we use it, great. We don't, that's fine too. I'd rather have the access to it than not have the access to it. But we can do pretty much everything that you'd ever wanted to do in a teaching studio through one piece of software, which I know for us, or me especially, is a big factor.
Yes, yeah. Not having to add a bunch of things. And the other, it doesn't come into play when it comes to like fitting and lessons. We're good, but in a commercial setting for us, and to be honest, Foresight has answered this problem. They have something called the Hawk that mounts in the ceiling.
I know where you're going.
And comes straight down on you. You get ball. I don't believe you get club data.
No, I don't think so.
But so for us in a commercial setting, which we have this happen quite a bit, if I'm right-handed, hey, I'm good to go. But if you're left-handed and I'm right-handed and we're playing together,
that box has to move.
This needs to move, or
and you have to reset it, I believe.
I have heard of facilities, and it would scare me to death, but they will actually let lefties stand right here.
No, I wouldn't even want to do that.
Hit golf balls with it right next to them and not.
Yeah, I mean, which hypothetically it doesn't change what it's measuring.
No,
but
because at that point when you're playing a game, all it's getting is ball data anyway.
Yeah, it's just you want to, and where it ends up, it's really going to measure about 6 different things, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I got a couple of buddies that are left-handed.
Yes.
And just thinking about if Frizzell or Helms or one of those guys was in the bay with us, having to constantly move it back and forth. Well, and on top of that too, remember, every time you move it, you're supposed to realign it.
You got to realign it every time.
Which means you got to put that stick back down. So every shot, practically, you're moving that unit.
And I don't want just some average. And if we were to use this in a commercial setting, this would all be hardwired also into the back of it. So there'd be a Cat 5, there'd be a power cord in the back of it.
Sure.
And we just wouldn't be.
And that's exactly, if we pulled this a unit away from the Trackman or from the computer bay right now, you'd see it connected to a power source, because sometimes the units, is it good for them to be on for 8 hours? Probably not. But they're not necessarily always on. But yeah, it's probably bad for the battery. Unit doesn't matter so much.
Yeah.
But you pull it away and you're going to have that Cat 5 Ethernet cable plugged into the computer directly so that it can transmit data a little faster than wirelessly.
Correct.
And then that power cable to make sure it doesn't die mid-round.
Yes.
So, and you're right, from a commercial standpoint. But on the flip side, play a little devil's advocate here. Let's say you're a person with disposable income, or wannabe professional, an aspiring professional, or even a professional, and you're looking to get a couple of numbers very, very quickly. This unit has a screen right on it.
Screen sitting on the top of it.
Yep, so you can put it down with no other components and put it down and get some data from it.
Just grab it real fast.
Right, and you're not gonna get a lot. You're gonna get, what do you even have? I don't even know.
You get ball speed, you get ball speed, carry, launch angle.
It's trying to read a ball, so it keeps going back and forth.
Side spin and back spin.
Yep,
Just
so
flashing back and
it's
on
giving
and
you a
off
decent number, and then typically, like I remember Kyle talking about this when we did the Trackman Q&A deep dive. He said Dustin Johnson really pays attention to really one number, especially when he's working on short irons. It's really all about that carry. So from that standpoint, it's nice to be able to kind of just push a button, set it down, and hit.
Yep.
And not worry so much about it, and to know exactly your numbers. And I will say it's been pretty accurate. That's the one thing with Trackman. Give or take about a half a yard, which is what they both kind of say already is their...
Yeah, they all have... Yeah, they've got a plus minus on everything.
Right.
They're accurate to within
half
something.
yard, quarter yard, yard. Skytrack 15 yards, 4
So I mean, here we go. Here's a little chip.
So you got a ball speed of, what was your carry? So 29.4 carry on the Trackman. And 30 on
carry of, it hasn't
30.
switched back. There we go.
I'm cheating and looking at the iPad.
Carry a 30. Oh, you're looking at it over there?
Yeah. So obviously you can have it connected, and you guys have seen the interface now on the iPad. So you really have 3 different interfaces you can use with the GCQuad. The unit itself has its own basic screen.
Yep.
Dive in a little bit deeper with that, with the iPad or phone, and then even further if you actually put the whole cumbersome software on a computer itself.
Yep.
Trackman, you do have 2 essentially, and I say 2. It works with an iPhone as well as an iPad. Very similar interface at that point.
Yep.
And then obviously you have the full studio, which would be with all the games and combines and all of that other stuff. And they have a combine as well.
Yeah.
So everybody has their version of that. It's essentially distance and accuracy tracking.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like I said, they are apples to apples. This one is good. This one is good. I'm not saying that one of them is wildly better than the other one.
Right.
I've used this one longer. I like the way that one's set up, but they're both good. It's just how do you want to set it up, and what stuff do you want to look at?
And if you're a professional or a teaching professional or any version of somebody looking to get this, ask those questions to us, because we have gotten to use both these units. And you can ask this question through their channel, and they can get to me or tag Maverick Remote Scope on their channel, or look at my channel, or the other 1,700 different ways of getting a hold of us. Prior to partnering up with them, I actually used a Flight Scope XI Tour. That's what it was. I want to say Plus, but that's a different unit. So not quite that level, just kind of right beneath it. Kind of fell just a tier below these guys. So not like a Mevo, what's out now, it looks the size of a phone.
Yeah.
That's going to give you about 3 or 4 different parameters. And it's great if you're an amateur just looking to get some numbers. Mevo's an amazing thing. That's one really cool thing FlightScope has done is they've attacked those people that are looking for some real basic information just to understand their carry yardages. Yeah. They're great. They're finicky. There's a whole lot of automatic settings that make these very easy to use. That's very manual.
Yeah.
It's got a kickstand. You have to make sure it's on the right degrees. And
yeah,
you have to elevate it sometimes if you're on a weird driving range where it's like, no Trophy Club, if you get far back on the range, it has that slope up, and so you have to be really careful about distance. And
Whitestone, Canyon West, those are drop-offs.
Yep, and obviously now like a Mevo is just going to lose it, and you're not going to get that number. You get a nice flat driving range, it'll track it all the way to the ground, you're fine. These will make presumptive numbers, that one will not. A lot of different stuff when you start diving down that rabbit hole, as you can tell.
Yeah, start running on it.
But yeah, ask those questions.
Absolutely.
I think that's the biggest thing is, I know you guys encountered this, we mentioned this before, I've encountered it in doing some research. There's just not a lot of resources out there for 1, V2, V3.
No, there's not.
And these really are the top 2 when it comes down to it. We'll go ahead and throw a bone and throw the X3 from FlightScope in there, but quite frankly, these 2 seem to beat it out. You just don't see FlightScopes out on tour very often. What'd they say? Is it 83 or 86 of the top 100?
Yeah,
80 something.
Maybe even more, maybe in the 90s.
Yeah, so it's whatever FlightScope, damn it. Whatever Trackman says, 80 something of the top 100 players in the world use that orange box, but you are seeing just as many of these out there. Now, when you're at that level 2, there's no harm in, especially if you've got a setup and your coach has it, throw them both down.
And if you've got the income of some of those individuals out there.
Right.
Yeah.
I know one thing for me that impressed me with Trackman, and I don't know this with Foresight, so I'm not going to speak to it, but Trackman doesn't actually give units away.
Correct.
In any capacity, so.
No, nobody is sponsored, nobody is paid.
Right.
You don't really see Trackman commercials.
The Tour even, so the Tour uses Trackman as their primary launch monitor when you see that, the shot shaping. Now they use the older unit because it's less expensive. They don't need all that data.
Yeah,
they just want to show a little ball track.
Yeah, so Top
the Tour buys those.
Top Golf and Top Tracer. So that's tracing. That's like the little line behind it. But what is actually tracking the golf ball is one of those.
That's
and you can
V3.
see them.
It's the single radar unit.
Yeah, if you pay attention pretty quick, you'll see them. They're green.
I was about to say they
orange.
changed the color to make it blend in a little bit better.
They're green,
gray outline,
and they sit about this high off the ground on a stand.
Normally on a TV tower.
Sometimes they're behind them. Sometimes they're where that camera right there is pointed out towards. I mean, they don't even get me talking about that.
Yeah,
It's
they've
a
designed those
completely
units
different
specifically.
Unit. That is not what we're
But the
using.
Tour buys them. It's not. They're not just giving
Correct.
them to the Tour for the fun of it. They're not getting any marketing unless you just have a really good eye and see that.
You see Trackman real fast.
And it's a skinny. I mean, if you glance down there, do you see the word Trackman? That's about how big it is.
Yeah.
It's just on a green background versus that orange, so they lose that marketing. But they're being paid. They don't care. In a nutshell, that's the basic differences. So, like we said earlier, if you have a question, if you're looking to buy one of these 2 units,
If you're close by, let us know.
Yeah.
One of our reps who uses that would most likely be okay with bringing in. You
just buy a wedge.
Hit balls on both of them. Yeah. So if you're close by Fort Worth, Fort Worth or Lido area, holler at us. Let us know. Obviously you could just walk in and hit balls on Trackman anytime you want to. But if you specifically wanted to see that, we could probably get that set up for you too.
Right, absolutely. And if you just have random questions, ask those away in the comments below. We'll do our best to respond as quickly as possible.
Yep.
What else?
That's the showdown, man.
There's a lot of money sitting right here, making me nervous.
Yeah, swinging golf
That
clubs
does
around
make me nervous. I'm not gonna lie, like not for me, but if you get like a 25 handicapper in here and they accidentally
I've seen golf balls go
toe one
that direction.
That's probably my biggest complaint about that. It just makes me nervous.
So, thank y'all for checking in. Let us know.
Yep. Try not to break a launch monitor when you're testing them.
Yeah.
See you later.